want to start just by, in terms of transitioning us from what we just heard, to just remember that we're all better than the worst thing we say or do, and there's always a right thing to do next. And learning with grace to be part of the healing that needs to happen is what we know we're all working for. And so as we think about the next system and we think about how that manifests in our life, you know, there's a little powerful remark that I heard from a man who works in a group that really does sort of collective kind of tissue work between movements. His name is Mervyn Marcano, and he talks about trust, and he says everything moves at the speed of trust. So as we figure out how do we go forward in a good way, we're going to learn now about some amazing examples that are happening in our community, and there's an opportunity to think about how do we plug into these things. And I'll just share that I'm really happy to be here. I was in a car accident yesterday. I was rear-ended by a semi-truck, and I was slowing so that someone could merge, and I was extending courtesy to someone that was merging onto the 101. And in my effort to reduce my speed so that they could come in and join, I was struck from behind. And so I'm really happy to be here, and I've been thinking about the speed of trust. And so, you know, these folks you're going to hear from are moving at speed, various speeds of acceleration in these incredible programs that they're doing right here at home to really remember our way forward, to build the next system and actualize that now. And so as we merge into those systems, remember we want to travel at a safe speed and allow ourselves and one another to merge at the speed of trust. So that's where we're setting our odometers. And without further ado, I'm going to pass to Sigrid. She's Executive Director of Community Environmental Council. She's going to lead us off, and then we'll hear from Colin, Rebecca, Marcos, and Jessica. And there probably won't be time for questions or sharing, just the nature of this strange beast that is linear time. But you will get to see them, you'll get to know them, and they're going to hang around for a few minutes so that you can get on their dance card and plug in with them into the programs that they're working on.
Well, thank you, Celia. And I also just want to say I'm also glad that you're still with us today. And it's not only that, but it's your birthday. So it's your rebirth day. Okay, I'm going to speed talk a little bit. So I'm with the Community Environmental Council. We were formed in who has heard of us? I'm hoping a few of you. We were formed in 1970 in response to the 1969 oil spill. So we were born out of a dirty energy crisis. I'll say a really important aspect of our organization is that it's a solutions-oriented, very positive, asset-based organization, and that has informed our work up to today. We have some deep intellectual roots, so some of the folks that you may have studied, Lewis Mumford, E.F. Schumacher, Alan Chadwick, are part of our kind of our base. And I'll just speed through our early years. We formed community gardens, we formed the first recycling centers, helped pass the state recycling law, the first hazardous waste collection facility in California, the first green building to house an environmental group. All of this stuff feels very normal now, and it actually speaks to system change over time. About 10 years ago, we pivoted away from all of that work that I just mentioned and really decided to focus solely on energy and what was a non-existent climate movement. Today, through groups like 350.org that Becca's involved with, we have a really vibrant climate movement. We have an anti-fracking movement. And even the words fossil-free are more household words, but when we started using it with our Fossil Free by 33 campaign 10 years ago, it really wasn't. We got a lot of questions, like, why are you trying to ban fossils? So now it's a lot, so again, that speaks to, it can feel like we move at a very slow pace with some of this change, but that speaks to what has happened really in just the last 10 years. Even then, 10 years ago, while there was talk about climate change, it really was not a local conversation at all. There were no localized strategies. AB 32, which is the Global Warming Solutions Act, was just coming online, but there were really no implementation. There were no climate action plans at the local level. So I mention that because in a moment I'm going to talk about another system, the food system, that is just starting that work. And I just came from a meeting with the advisory board where I pointed us back to reflect on how much work has happened in system change in 10 years with climate. And being mindful with climate and energy systems that we're trying to change a 100-year-old system of fossil fuels, really maybe even over 100 years. So it may seem slow, but there's a lot of rapid movement. I want to speak to one strategy that is of particular interest to me and really up right now and timely. 10 years ago when we started this work, we put together a blueprint for how to move our region away from fossil fuels in one generation. A lot of different things, more solar, more electric vehicles, transition away from other liquid fuels towards hydrogen. And by the way, we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting on the first hydrogen fueling station in the Tri-Counties region in two or 3 weeks. But there was one strategy that emerged that we pointed to 10 years ago, and it was called community choice energy. And other than Becca, has anybody else heard of that? A few of you, okay. So the concept behind it is that a community can decide where and where it gets its electricity. While we would still use the utility lines, which in our region is Southern California Edison, we can determine there is a mechanism, there's a statewide mechanism that allows us to determine that we want more of that electricity to come from solar or wind or whatever. So our community, actually the Tri-Counties region, is conducting a feasibility study to see if that would be possible for our region. And my organization felt so strongly about that we actually put in the first money for that feasibility study last spring, and we're hoping to see it, I think, we're hoping in September. And so that's a very, that'll be, if that comes forward, that'll be a very powerful tool for us. I would also say that there are a lot of other communities looking at community choice energy. In fact, there are 80 communities in California assessing this right now, and if all of them move forward, 60% of all California residents would be changing the way in which they get electricity or where that electricity comes from. So that's a game changer, and I know the utilities are taking note of that. So I'm gonna, how am I doing? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So I'm going to briefly mention that in a couple of years ago, CEC and the Food Bank of Santa Barbara County started a similar process of looking at the food system. Food Bank's looking at it from the side of how the food system is or is not helping people access healthy food, all people, making it accessible to all people. We're looking at it from the environmental standpoint. There are some similar challenges with the food system in terms of globalization and its extremely vertical nature, but there are a lot of opportunities as well. Some of the challenges in our county include the fact that we are one of the top ag producing counties in California. Out of 58 counties, we're in the top 12. We're in the bottom 14 in terms of being able to provide food security to our own people. 40% of all food is in the nation is wasted somewhere along the chain, and in our pilot studies we have shown that's probably the case here as well. And about over 50% of all Santa Barbara County residents are considered obese or overweight. So we have health issues, we have justice issues, we have environmental issues. We also have a lot of opportunity here, and if I had more time, I would get into some of those, but the ones I'm most interested in are closing that food waste system so that food waste, first of all, we prevent as much as possible and get it into the hands of people who could use it. And then when we do have food waste or food scraps, that it be turned into an actual material that's useful, a compost material that's useful, that could be applied to our rangelands here in North County. To increase growth and actually also can be a carbon sequestration tool. And that can also really increase water holding capacity when you treat soil properly. It turns it into a sponge. So those are a few of the solutions, a few of the things that we're working on. I just came from one of the last meetings that we will have that's putting together a county-wide food action plan. So it's got 15 to 20 recommendations. It was been co-chaired by 2 county supervisors and a really wonderful advisory board, including Marcos Vargus. And so be looking for that in the next month. And I feel like with the Food Action Plan, we are where CEC was 10 years ago with our community energy blueprint and laying out a roadmap for system change. Good? Okay.
Wonderful. My name is Colin Richardson, and I'm here on behalf of Las Delicias Institute of EcoAgriculture. We are a new nonprofit, just got started in November. And we're doing things a little bit more on a local level. We're about bridging communities and using ecological solutions to address social justice and environmental issues. And don't have too much time to talk about the other things that we are going to be doing, but we will have a teach-in tomorrow at the SB Mission Room in the UCEN at 12 o'clock, having a whole hour of opening up the floor for the community to explore ideas on how to create the next system. So we hope you come and check that out, and also check out our Facebook page at Las Delicias, and check us out on Twitter, and also ecoag.org. We have a lot of different programs. We're going to talk about two today, addressing the fact that our dump will be, at the current rate, will be closed, filled up in the next 13 years. 50% of which is green waste that can be turned into food, and also the other half could potentially be turned into a number of different things, where we focus on upcycled materials and turning into art. We are really interested in providing opportunities to empower youth to get involved in their communities. So one of our projects is our youth bicycle pickup route, basically like a paper route, except we provide a bicycle and a bike taxi to students 16 to 20 years old, who would then adopt in their community about a 4-block radius and pick up food scraps, and then bring that to a school that is within that same facility. And then we would come in and teach students how to turn that into compost directly, and then turn that into a garden project, and that enters into the culinary department, and then the waste of that goes right back into the compost. So that's kind of a closed loop system that's hyper-local, uses 0 fossil fuels, and also provides an opportunity for youth to get involved and feel empowered. That's something that I got to do in this, being from Santa Barbara, is get involved in community action, and it's something that's continued to inspire me, and so I want to continue to pass that on. And another thing that we're doing with upcycled materials is we're actually going to be teaming up with BC Central and another welder to use upcycled materials to build these bicycles, to build these bike taxis. And on top of that, provide an opportunity for urban art, graffiti art, to really make some really cool artistic bike taxis, so that the students really take pride in what they're doing beyond just what might be seen as picking up trash. And so we're going to be teaming up with Claassen de la Raza and Art from Scrap, and providing a space for students to learn about graffiti art and how to think a little more creatively when looking at the materials in their immediate surrounding, and how can it be turned into something of value. So as a nonprofit with 0 funding, we're trying to find ways to use what's other going to be seen as waste, and it's going to be filling up our dump in a very short amount of time, and turning into something of value, and creating jobs for youth, and creating opportunity for people to get involved in their immediate community, which inevitably creates opportunities for conversation, and to share culture with different music and food. So I'm not sure how we're doing on time. 2.5 more minutes, wonderful. Okay. I'm going to keep it short because I wasn't expecting too much time. But we are about bridging different pre-established organizations. That's what Las Delicias is all about. One of which is with Jessica here with the Vista Food Forest, she'll be talking about later. And so we're not about recreating the wheel. As many of you know, there's more nonprofits in Santa Barbara per capita than just about anywhere. And most of which are fighting for the same funding and have very similar missions. And so what we're trying to do is be a web, just like the soil food web of life, so that people can move together and flow with different organizations. It's something that a lot of different speakers have been talking about. supporting different organizations that may not quite seem to be focused on what you're focusing on now, but are a part of this much larger new system that's not focused on necessarily monetary means, but inspiring people and really bringing people together. It's amazing all the different people that we are working with right now who are coming. I want to say from a benevolent place, but it's beyond that. It's from a very human, it's a spiritual place. It's everything that we don't normally talk about, but that does very much exist in this human experience. And it's fun and it's creative and it's something that even a 4-year-old or a graduate student can understand. So we encourage you guys again to come tomorrow to the USEN SB Mission Room at 12 o'clock. And please contact us with any questions and ideas. We're looking to get everybody from every socioeconomic status, from every group to be involved. As Jimmy was saying, I look forward to involving the people who represent the people who were here first, and I am limiting my exposure of other ideas because I want to restrict the idea that one person has all the answers. As great as I may believe they may be, I think it's important to expose the ideas before just going out, because there's a lot of people trying to do good that also fail to see the downsides of moving without asking for the support of everyone in the community. And it's important to go and find people who don't have a voice, and that's something that we're trying to do. So we look for support and hope to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Alvarez. I'm extremely honored to be here connecting with you all today. Because again, that's kind of my take on this whole next system, is that we need to be in the business of bursting bubbles and planting seeds. And I'll explain kind of where I'm coming from with that. So I am actually a UC student. I'm a mother, and I'm serving as part of the UC Global Food Initiative. So a lot of the work I've been doing right now has been heavily focused on food systems. And as was mentioned, and I'm very glad I was able to catch a bit of the last panel discussion, I've been really working on recognizing where I'm coming from. So as part of my work through the Food Initiative, again, just to give you a little background, this is a $2 million plus presidential initiative through the UC system. To utilize the collective research, intellectual, creative power of the UC system to recognize the next food system that will help us to address the issues we're dealing with climate change, public health, everything. So again, many ideas, and there's this tendency for us to want to dive in and reinvent the wheel, and like you were mentioning, and it's a very powerful creative urge, but at the same time, taking a step back and recognizing, I'm a parent, I'm living here in family housing at UC Santa Barbara, and I am surrounded by families from all over the world who have come here to research, have come here to build a better world, a better life for their families. And luckily enough, family housing, if we walk over across the street, has a community garden. And so my project is very simple, it started off very simply, and has turned out to be a very complicated, beautiful, messy, organic kind of project. So this community garden that is for resident use, it's over by West Campus, corner of El Colegio and Slough Road, right across from Isla Vista Elementary School, has been a community garden for over 20 years. So naturally, walking up to it, I was extremely excited. I'm like, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be so well organized and productive. And naturally, you come across a lot of the fundamental issues that community gardens have to deal with, and that's a high turnover rate. You have residents that move in and move out. You have gophers. You have all these wonderful things to contend with. But at the heart of it, I had to recognize that this space was truly something important. And it took me a while to get to this recognition of the people whose land this was previously. The recognition that I'm trying to research the best way to improve access to organic foods, especially for students, and even more so for student families who have higher constraints on their budgets. And right here, I have an amazing living laboratory in which to kind of bridge these ideas together, to network, to burst bubbles, to invite people into this creative process. And that's actually how I came to know Colin and Carla, who's another co-founder of Las Delicias, is simply by going on Facebook and taking a look at who's around me, who's working on similar goals and projects, and just simply sending a message. I am the president of the Family Housing Tenants Association, and I wanted to put some work and investment in building a really, truly valuable community asset that can help us reimagine people and earth care, which at the core of it, that's kind of what we're trying to recognize within this next systems project. And just sending out a line, you get surprised how often people will respond. And I'm proud to say that our network has grown and grown. Right now, we're also partnering with the American Indian Student Association on campus. They have a pilot project, and they'll be working closely with the Chumash Environmental Council and the Coastal Band to help put in a Three Sisters garden, to help develop workshops in conjunction with family housing so that residents can really truly take in these valuable sources of knowledge that are completely overlooked and often forgotten. And as I also have Yaqui heritage, proud indigenous roots. It just seemed like a really beautiful way to bring all these different working pieces together. And oddly enough, I was also raised in family housing, the UCSD campus. So again, it's just recognizing these cycles, recognizing the interconnectedness that is life, that has been largely removed from our experience through the current model and the current system, and that is, anyway, I can go on and on, but we're looking for more partners to realize this project. We're, again, making really wonderful connections, but working through the institution of the university system has also been very interesting. You encounter roadblocks that you wouldn't expect to find. You encounter hesitancy and resistance, and my mantra going forward has been retool the machine, don't break it down, because that's going to require too much energy, and there's better energy spent elsewhere. So I'll wrap it up. Thank you very much. I'll be around if anyone is interested in learning more.
Well, good afternoon, buenas tardes. My name is Marcos Vargus. I'm the Executive Director of the Fund for Santa Barbara. And I also just want to acknowledge how honored and blessed I feel to have started this circle and this discussion today with that previous panel. That really, and I think it's important that we really take that in, the importance of indigenous knowledge and how that can really inform, as was just said, that consciousness of connectedness, the fact that we're all connected. The Iroquois have a concept that was mentioned as well of 7 generations. The fact that none of us stand alone, we stand with 7 generations that help bring us to this point in time. And therefore, we're responsible for 7 generations into the future. And so we're very fortunate here to have indigenous peoples who are willing to share that knowledge here and to help move forward positive social change. Again, I'm the Executive Director of the Fund for Santa Barbara. It's a progressive alternative community foundation. We fund hundreds of progressive grassroots organizations doing social change work. And if you want to know more about us, I brought some information. Please contact us if you have a project or in the community that you need funding for. We're there. We've been at the ground floor of many important environmental, social, economic justice efforts here in Santa Barbara County. We also provide technical assistance because our mission really is to build the collective capacity to bring about social change in our region. So it's technical assistance, it's grant making through a grassroots grant making process, and it's also convenings and coalition building, which is what I want to focus on for a moment now, and particularly the concept of sustainable economy. And sustainable economy being defined as an economy that is just, prosperous, democratic with a small d, and environmentally healthy. Now, this concept has actually helped to inform some very important coalition building and organizing here in the Central Coast. It really comes from the perspective that so much progressive social change work is being done in silos, separate from one another. It's this idea that only those folks that self-identify as environmentalists or just maybe white economically privileged folks care about the environment, when in reality it's so ironic that all the polls are indicating that Latino voters actually vote better on environmental justice issues, on climate change issues, on investment in renewable resources than the general population, the voting population. Yet we rarely see environmental groups really taking what they really need to do and being intentional about engaging that community. And it's hard. It's hard working outside of your comfort zone. But it's something that needs to be done because this is a community directly impacted, just as all of us are, from climate change and environmental justice issues. You know, again, the previous panel made me think about the Mixteco population, a growing indigenous population from South Mexico who are now a big part of our community, Latino community here. And when I talk to them, you just know you're hearing individuals with a consciousness of their connection to the earth. And this is what I think is hopefully beginning a sea change, beginning to inform a consciousness within the Latino community as well. Again, there's been some exciting organizing taking place here in the Central Coast over the last 15 years. That's really taught us that we really do need to build broad-based coalitions. I'm thinking one, for example, that my previous organization that I founded, CAUSE, which is a Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy, and the Sierra Club got together and moved forward a campaign to stop a liquefied natural gas terminal off the coast of Oxnard. Well, Sierra Club had been working this issue for a while as an environmental issue, strictly. A land use issue about our coastal, preserving our coast and so forth. It wasn't until CAUSE got involved, saw it as an environmental justice issue, the fact that the pipeline was going to go right through the Latino community and they would be directly impacted. So consequently, I'm remembering very well a state lands commission hearing where 3,000 people came out for that, busloads of folks from Fillmore and Santa Paula and Oxnard, from Malibu. You had surfers shoulder to shoulder with low-wage working people, with farm workers, with beachfront homeowners, with environmentalists, all recognizing that we need to preserve our environment for generations to come. CAUSE, again, Central Coast Alliance for United for a Sustainable Economy, was actually built on the living wage movement, which in Ventura County was a broad-based coalition of community, labor, faith, environmental, student, women's organizations. I go on and on. 62 organizations who came together on the simple premise that working people deserve a decent wage. They deserve a wage to be able to feed their families. So the potential is tremendous. And so again, I'm in this really unique position. I'm basically an organizer. That's in my heart. And now I'm the executive director of a foundation that actually can fund this work and provides technical assistance and support that could bring into our community trainers that can train in community organizing. And I'm excited as all hell. So I've been on board for 9 months now, and it's a challenging job. I'm still learning, but I'm really excited to be in this community. I'm a UCSB student, alumni as well, and I remember being in this community years ago when the environmental issues were emerging and the immigrant rights issues were emerging. And in many ways, it's a shadow of its previous self in terms of the Chicano movement. So I'm excited about being part of a community that really recognizes the interconnectedness between our communities. With that, I just want to say I have brochures, I have some business cards. We have internship possibilities at the fund, and they're about they're incredible opportunities to do research, to engage a broad sector of the community on social justice issues, and so I'll invite you all to participate. And if you know someone who may be interested in an internship or submitting a proposal, we'd love to see it. And again, thank you so much.
Hi, thanks for being here today. My name is Rebecca Claassen, and I am Santa Barbara County Organizer for Food and Water Watch. Raise your hand if you've heard of Food and Water Watch before. Okay. So we're actually a national advocacy organization focused on protecting public access to safe food and clean water. Our founder, Winona Houter, started with Ralph Nader's organization, Public Citizen, years and years ago, and split off from that organization about 10 years ago because she realized that the Congress that passed the Clean Water Act and other really progressive foundational environmental laws is not the Congress we have anymore. It's a corporate-owned Congress for the most part. And so she started Food and Water Watch to build political power around food and water issues, which most people feel so passionately about that it can really work across partisan lines. And that's what Food and Water Watch has seen so far. I'm very honored and privileged to be a part of it and to be able to focus here on the Santa Barbara County level, primarily on energy issues and the threat that extraction from oil and other industries pose to our groundwater, and also working on the renewable energy solution side, all geared toward building political power. As an organizer for an organization that believes that change is going to happen from the grassroots up, it's up to us to start taking things into our own hands and changing policies together. So it's been a blast to work for this organization. I too hire summer interns. I'm looking for one for this coming summer. What else did I want to say? So my personal path to becoming involved in this work was that I had learned about climate change from my second grade teacher that knew that it was going to be the issue of our generation. And after having my daughter, she was an infant on my lap when I read Bill McKibben's Terrifying New Math of Climate Change article. Raise your hand if you've read that one. Yeah. And shortly thereafter, thankfully, I also read the Stanford study by Mark Jacobson showing that we could be 100% renewable by 2030, and that his scientific conclusion was that we have the technology, we have the capital, all we need is the political will. So I thought that's where I can come in. I can serve to build political grassroots power to help get these policies enacted that we so desperately need. I've also been consulting for the World Business Academy. It's a local nonprofit here, and with those guys, we've been mapping out how Santa Barbara County can have, the south part of Santa Barbara County, we can build 100% renewable microgrid here in order to answer or create a solution for the threat of power outages due to the fact that we have a single power line coming from Southern California that delivers all of our electrical needs. So 100% renewable microgrid would be not only an adaptation to potential climate catastrophe, big storms and whatever, but also an innovation that could be replicable around the world as a solution. So we could generate, store, and distribute 100% renewable energy here locally. And a very important first step to that is the Community Choice Energy Plan, which Sigrid mentioned earlier. I'm on the steering committee along with Jefferson from CEC for that. And things are looking good, but we will need some help putting some, I think of it as political encouragement at this point, reminding our supervisors that we do want to see this plan go forward. So I do have some slides too to show anybody who's interested. We've got some good visuals of what that microgrid could look like here on the South Coast, so just come see me afterward and I'd be happy to share those with you. Thank you all.
So that was just a little taste of some of the things that are happening right here in ways that you can plug in.